Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Living Well or Trying to. I'm your host, Janet. Today is going to be a solo episode and I'm going to be talking about the importance of taking a break, taking vacation, taking a trip somewhere. If you are someone who has workaholic tendencies like myself and also like myself do not like to plan vacations or trips, this one's for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about a recent solo wellness retreat that I took that maybe can be some inspiration for you. Maybe you can find some tidbits in there that are useful. I'm also going to tell you about why it's important to take vacation in case you needed more convincing. I'm also going to do a Q&A at the end based off of some questions that I sourced from Instagram. And then I'm going to wrap it all up with a giveaway. So please stick around until the end because I have some really cool stuff that I want to give you guys. Okay, before we get into the main episode, I want to talk about a messy moment and a mindful moment of the week. My messy moment of the week, I did it again. I realized that I left my laundry, the last load, in the dryer. I totally forgot about it, and it also wasn't fully dry, so by the time I found it, it smelled kind of mildewy. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. Janet, why did you do that? This is something I've been doing since college. My college roommates know that anytime they went to do their laundry and found someone's random socks and underwear in the dryer, it was most likely mine. I don't know why this happens. I think because I'm trying to multitask and I'm the kind of person that likes to do laundry multiple times, whenever I just see it start to pile up versus scheduling it once a week or once every 2 weeks when it grows into a big pile. But because that's the case, then I often will be doing random loads and then I just forget. So I don't know if this happens to you, please let me know too so that I know I'm not alone. Anyway, my mindful moment of the week is that I'm now seeing a new acupuncturist. I found out that my insurance covers acupuncture. So if you're interested in trying out acupuncture, but you've been a little turned off because maybe you're thinking it's a little pricey, maybe it's a cost, I'm gonna let... Can you hear the downtown car alarms? This is great, guys. This is so mindful. I feel so well right now. We're gonna let that pass. Oh, zen it out. Okay, back to my mindful moment of the week. Yes, I found a new acupuncturist that is covered by my insurance, so it's more affordable. And she actually is someone who trained in Chinese medicine in Beijing, in China, and has been practicing for 10 years. So obviously she came over and she got recertified and everything. I don't want to knock other acupuncturists out there. I think that anyone who's practicing acupuncture, at least in California, I think it's different from state to state, you are licensed, and in order to be licensed, you have to go through pretty extensive training. I know I tried to do it and it was too hard for me, or I realized that, biophysiology, those things were just, I'm not good at it. I don't like it. But yes, anyone that you get acupuncture from, if they're certified, I'm sure they're great, but there's just something about knowing someone who was trained and has been practicing for over 10 years and was trained in China that I'm kind of fascinated by. And I've enjoyed working with her so far. I only had my second session, but yeah, I can actually still smell she used this very special, she said it's an oil made from some sort of plant that actually helps to promote more circulation because it increases the blood flow. So yes, I am fresh and mindful, ready to go into the rest of this episode with you all. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about why it's important to take vacation, some of the health benefits. If you are I already know the health benefits, or this part is going to be kind of, blah, not as exciting for me, you can fast forward. But if you are the person who's listening right now and still yeah, I'll take vacation eventually. Yeah, I'll take a break eventually. Listen to this part. Let me help convince you. If you are not already motivated to want to take a vacation, here's why it is actually good for your health. One of the most important reasons is you don't want to crash out. We all need to take breaks. We all need to take vacations, if it's possible, taking a trip away from our day-to-day activities so that we don't crash out. Because did you know that when you take vacations, it helps to reduce stress? That might sound like a no duh, right? But did you know that actually by stepping away from your daily routines, it helps to lower your cortisol levels, which is an actual hormone. It's a stress hormone in your body. So taking vacation has a real physiological benefit. Also, it allows you to charge and avoid long-term burnout. I think oftentimes, I don't know about you, I am like this where I'm like, no, I don't need to take a vacation. Maybe the thing I'm working on is something I actually really am energized by and I'm super passionate about. So I'll just keep pushing through and think, I don't need a break. But you know what? Eventually, everything has a cost. Everything, even if you are loving it, if you're enjoying it, if you're pushing yourself and you're not taking a break, eventually there will be long-term effects. The other thing about taking vacations is it improves your mood. If you're not going to do it for yourself, think of the people who have to be around you every day. Do it for them. Do it for them so that your stanky ass attitude when you're, super stressed out and all over the place is not affecting other people. Also, taking vacations lowers your risk of heart disease. Did you know that especially women are more prone to heart disease than men? And so when you're stressed out all the time, that puts you in danger of bad cardiovascular health. So taking vacation is good for your heart. There are actually studies that show that people who take regular vacations are less likely to suffer from cardiovascular problems. So let that be a convincing point. Also, sleep. When you are stressed or overworked, aka not taking breaks, sleep disruption is one of the main things that can happen. And time off can actually mean that you get some solid time to sleep. If you still need more convincing, maybe because you're a productivity hoe, nothing wrong with that. I sometimes identify with that as well. Did you know that taking vacation actually can also improve your productivity? Because when you take a break and then you come back to it, you might actually be able to do things faster and better and more effectively. Rest also refuels creativity. Creativity is not just reserved for those who work in creative fields. Every job involves creativity, in my opinion. When you let your brain reset, that's when new ideas are able to develop and you're able to problem solve better. Also, focus and performance. Generally, you tend to be sharper after you take a vacation. The other thing, taking vacations offers perspective and growth. It encourages reflection when you're away from your daily routine, which can provide some aha moments about long-term life and work goals. So if you need some time to step away and just reflect, it also expands your horizons. Even if you're going to a place you've already been to, like say you go to a weekend getaway to a spot that you always go to, just doing that, chances are there's going to be some part of that trip, because it disrupts from your daily routine, that is going to be stimulating. That's going to be novel, whether it's meeting new people, trying a new dish, whatever it is. All these things can provide new stimulation for better creativity. Okay, so that was a hodgepodge of reasons, but I hope I've convinced you of the importance of taking a vacation. Now I want to talk a little bit about a recent mini weekend wellness retreat that I took in hopes that it might inspire you to do the same for yourself. I am someone who does not enjoy the process of planning vacations or trips. I know that some people love it and it helps make them excited for the trip to come. I'm just not one of those people. I also did not want to go too far away and I didn't want to stay for too long. So I found a wellness resort that is about an hour or two outside of my hometown, and they have set activities on site. So there was kind of like, a nice itinerary that was built in. And I was also able to book it pretty last minute. So it didn't require like months in advance to get on a list or anything like that. So I want to talk you through how I structured my solo retreat so that even if you are not going to the same place, this is not like a sponsored episode for that resort, but maybe you will find another hotel that's local to you or another retreat that's similar, and you might, use my schedule or my itinerary as a template. Or if you're not in a position to go very far away, maybe you can book, another local hotel that doesn't have retreat and activities, but you can create your own little mini retreat. Or you can even just stay at home and designate that I'm going to switch off and I'm in mental vacation mode and create a little schedule for yourself that kind of matches my itinerary and call it a vacation. Although personally for me, I find that the physical space that I'm in makes a big difference. So if I tried to take a vacation at home and I'm still in my same apartment, it doesn't work for me. But each person's circumstance is different, so you do as much as you can. I went to Two Bunch Palms in Palm Springs, which is about a 2 to 3 hour drive out of LA. And I stayed for 3 days and 2 nights. And just so you're aware, this was a solo retreat just with myself, but I think you can take some of the itinerary and the concepts and you could apply it to a trip with a couple of close girlfriends, with your partner, with a smaller group of friends. This itinerary doesn't translate as well for like large group trips or gatherings. So if that's something you're planning, this might not be the most inspiring for that. So let me tell you a little bit about this place. Two Bunch Palms has mineral baths, they have walking meditation labyrinths, they have massages and yoga and sound baths. There was astrology and tarot, if that's your thing. Pickleball, tennis, basketball courts were also on site. It was like its own little compound or mini resort. I booked a room in the Spring Rooms area. They have another location called the Desert Rooms or the Grove Rooms. I personally liked the Spring Rooms, little like village area. If I go back, I would book a different room because the room that I booked was a bit dim. There wasn't a lot of natural light, and that's something that is really important to me. And I personally think for anyone going on a vacation or wanting to kind of rejuvenate, that natural sunlight is really important. But day one, here's how I structured my wellness retreat. I started the morning off with a workout, and I went to a Pilates class, moved my body. After Pilates, I went to grab a healthy meal. I went to Creation Juicery in LA. They have a couple of locations. I got a delicious hummus wrap in this like collard green. The green was the wrap. And then also paired with the green juice. Loved it. And then also got a cup of coffee because I knew that I was in for a 2 to 3 hour drive. So that kind of helped to fuel me up. And then I went on my 2 to 3 hour drive. And here is a little tip for those who are going on like longer drives solo. You can use this time to zone out and to listen to podcasts, listen to music. I did a little bit of that. But it can also be a really good time to, catch up with your loved ones. I FaceTimed, video chatted with my sister and my nephew. Of course, I had the phone mounted. I wasn't like holding it and, not doing one of these things because that is dangerous and you don't want to be pulled over for that. But yeah, I was able to video chat and catch up with my sister and my nephew for a little bit. And then I had a phone call with one other girlfriend. She just had a second baby. So it's been really, really hard for us to like sync schedules and catch up. And so we did a quick little like phone chat. And then I listened to a couple of podcasts. So yes, I arrived around the afternoon. I checked in, I got settled. I took a little tour of the grounds just to familiarize myself with what was on site at the resort and look at the map and, familiarize myself and just kind of get oriented. Checked into my room, unpacked a bit. And then the first thing that I did was hit up their mineral baths because this was, I feel like this was like kind of like the main reason why, or one of their like key features of the resort. But it was pretty late. So it was around like 8 p.m. I took a little soak in their mineral baths. I went to the grotto, which is kind of this like communal mineral bath area. I learned just because that was my first day that they have private solo baths, but you have to make reservations for that. So I ended up just going to the communal one first, and it ended up being totally fine because it was super empty. It wasn't very crowded that weekend, and it really was just me. And I just soaked in for about 20 to 30 minutes. I did not need a long time. I just wanted to kind of like get the experience. And I just had this moment, and it was only 20 to 30 minutes, but that 20 to 30 minutes was like 3 hours in my mind. I laid back, and because it was evening time, there was like, the night sky and you're in the desert. So I look up and I just remember seeing like the crisscross of the palm trees, like lightly swaying in the breeze, and the expansive night sky. And of course, all the stars that are so crystal clear out there in the desert. And it was just a vibe. It was a vibe. It was a moment. And I just felt immediately like, this felt like the proper start of the vacation. And then I went to dinner. So the Two Bunch Palms, they have basically two dining areas on site. One is called the Twine Restaurant, which is like a more formal sit down with a given menu, and they have set times for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then there's the Twine Cafe, which is kind of more like a coffee house where you can get like breakfast items and pastries and coffees and teas and stuff like that. So that first night, because I had already made a reservation to attend a sound bath, I was running a little tight on my schedule for time. So I didn't have time to do a full dinner, and I ordered takeout instead. So I went and I ordered my food, picked it up, and then I was running a little late to the sound bath, so I ended up just like leaving it in my room first, and then went to the sound bath. I know already this is not very wellnessy because I'm having dinner like past 9 p.m. But bear with me here. The sound bath that they had was at their Yoga Dome location. And I will say I got a little lost trying to find it at night. There were lights that were kind of like lighting the path throughout. So I did get lost, and that was stressful. But the benefit to that is that I kind of got a little mini tour of the resort area. I ran into the pickleball courts, which I was like, that's not the Yoga Dome, but now I know where the pickleball courts are. And then I was like, that's not the Yoga Dome. Oh, but that's a labyrinth for the walking meditations. I was like, this isn't the Yoga Dome, but I discovered those were the desert rooms. So I meandered around a little bit, finally found it, made it to the sound bath, and this was a really beautiful experience. They had basically yoga mats and blankets for you. And like the name says, Yoga Dome, it was a dome, a circular shape, and it was quite large. I don't know if it was like clay or something, the material of it, but it felt like enclosed, but also like you were not too far from the outside elements. And they basically had turned the lights down, and it was very like moody. They had kind of like light projection on the walls, kind of like swirling celestial. And then when you look up in the ceiling of the dome, it was like these beautiful circular structures, and it looks very like astrological. So you basically walk in, there were like a couple of people there, maybe like 10 to 15 people. So not a lot, but enough to feel like you are in community with people. And I laid out the mat. I used the blanket because the blanket kind of like is like feels like you're taking a nice nap. And then I just kind of zoned out, and the sound bath went on for about an hour. And I came out of that and I was just like, oh, okay, I've gotten my mineral bath in. I got my sound bath in. I felt like more and more like I was unwinding. And then I went back to my room. I ate a really late dinner, and then I got ready for bed. And that was the end of day one. Day two, this was Saturday. I woke up at 7 a.m. and I did my morning meditation. And then at about 8 a.m., I went over to the Twine Cafe, which is where the little like coffee shop and pastries are. And I got their complimentary coffee and a berry granola yogurt parfait. And then I did my morning pages. If you haven't heard of morning pages before, it's a practice or an exercise from a book called The Artist's Way. And the concept is that you do free writing for 3 pages. And that you just go, and it's like stream of consciousness, anything that comes to mind, you just write. And it's an exercise that I've been doing more or less. I'm not at this current stage doing as often, but during that time it was, I was doing it pretty frequently, and it was such a great experience to just like be in that little cafe, to have my coffee, to have my breakfast, and then to do the morning pages. So I did that, and then at around 9 a.m., I had reserved a facial. So the room that I booked required you to book 2 spa treatments. And so I scheduled a facial and a massage, and I booked them back to back because I wanted 2 hours of glorious rest time. After I did my morning pages, I made my way over to the treatment rooms area where their spa services are. And each of the spa treatments also come with like a wellness tonic of your choice. So I ordered a turmeric tonic, which was actually really good. And turmeric has anti-inflammatory benefits, which I love. So I was like sipping on that. It was just great. And I had a facial done. And the thing with facials, I have only had maybe like 3 facials ever in my entire life. It's just not something I do very often. And anytime I've gone, it's usually been because like once my mom wanted me to go with her, or like I have girlfriends that want to do it together. But me, myself, and I've never like booked a facial for myself. So this was kind of like a pat myself on the back, Janet, a nice wellness moment. But yeah, it was so relaxing. They had like a humidifier going, and there was like an exfoliant scrub, which I know in a lot of like skincare nowadays, they don't do a lot of like harsh, rubbing and things like that. But I'm a child of like the early 2000s when I used to use those like Clean and Clear Cell, like those little like scrubber micro beads. And I still mentally feel like that is what gets my face clean, or it like schleps away like the dead skin cells and stuff. So I loved when they did that exfoliant scrub, and it kind of just like cleared away the dead skin. And then of course they end with like this moisturizer, and it was amazing. I think I probably fell asleep. I don't even remember at this point, but it was a super relaxing experience. And then I went right into a massage. So I had initially signed up for a lymphatic massage because I had been hearing so much about this type of massage and I'd never had one before. So I was like, I want to give this a try. But their staff had asked me what level of pressure I prefer with my massages. And I'm like, oh, I like it hard. Like I want knots, taken out of my body, because I tend to get a lot of like tightness, especially in like my upper neck and shoulder area. I want those knots out. If I'm going to get a massage, that is what I am aiming for. And they're like, okay, then maybe you don't want the lymphatic massage because that's actually like really soft. And I was like, oh, I was imagining, I don't know if I had seen it on like TikTok or Instagram, where the lymphatic massagers are these like really intense, like hard pressure moving, getting like the things flowing in your body. But I guess the way they do lymphatic massages there, it's like really gentle. So instead I opted for the deep tissue massage. And let me tell you, this was one of the best massages I have ever had in my life. And I've had a lot of massages. Unlike facials, massages, all the time. And the masseuse that I had was named Uni, who's this Japanese guy. If you find yourself ever going to Two Bunch Palms in Palm Springs and you want to get a massage, get the deep tissue by Uni. This man is superb. His technique is so good. Like before we started the massage, he asked me to like take off any jewelry that I had, which is pretty normal. Usually like you want to take off any rings or necklaces and stuff. But then he like looked at my ears, and like I have a lot of piercings, right? And he's like, would you mind if it's not too much trouble, can you also take off your piercings? And I was like, oh, sure. Okay. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, are you going to massage my ear? Whatever. Like, apparently, yes, he was going to massage my ear. He got fully in there. And I was like, oh my God. But you know what? It was so good because we have pressure points in our ears. So that was amazing. If you go, please book Uni. After the massage, around 11:30 to 4 p.m., I actually went to a brand event. In Palm Springs, there was an event that I was invited to. So I took a little break from my retreat to do that, attended the event, met some cool people, filmed some things, and then I came back to the resort. If I had not gone to the brand event and instead had another like 4.5 hours on site, this is what I would have done. I would have had a slow lunch by the pool. They have a couple of pools there, but the main communal one is the cool pool, which is like a cool, like it's not like some of the other like mineral baths are more like lukewarm. So this one was like more cooler temperatures. And I would have ordered the mezzi platter from their menu for lunch. I love Mediterranean food. This would have been delicious and such a vibe. And then after lunch, I would have gone to the walking labyrinth. So what this is, if you haven't seen these before, it's basically like they take rocks and they stack them together, and it creates a bit of a maze, like a circular maze. And it's intended for you to walk along the path, and you kind of go in a circle. And it's meant to be kind of like a walking meditation. So I would have done that. And they also have scheduled classes. So I did end up taking a class, which I'll go over in the following day, my third day there. But if I had extra time on my second day, I would have probably taken more classes. They had slow flow yoga, which I probably would have checked out, or maybe I would have taken Qigong, which is something that they offered. And I haven't done like a proper Qigong class, and I'm kind of interested in that. So that would have been cool. Some of their classes they offered also are like Reiki meditations. I've never done that, but maybe I would have checked that out. So those are some things that, if you end up going, or if you are at a wellness retreat, maybe it could be a way to kind of like add into a second full day. And then I finally came back from the brand event, and around 5:30, I ended up just taking a nap and chilling for about like an hour and a half. Honestly, being out in the summer heat is quite exhausting, but it felt really good. You know what it's like to take a nap when you are like really tired? Oh, it's like one of the best feelings. So yeah, I did that. And then at 7 p.m., I made a reservation for their private mineral baths. This is like a private tub that's all to yourself. And they basically have two types of mineral baths there. Based on like the material that's used for the tub. You can either get a teak one or a cement one. And teak is a special type of hardwood that contains like oils and resins that make it resistant to water and decay. And it's actually a very beautiful type of wood. And I'm sure not only is it aesthetic, but perhaps there's like healing. I don't think there are healing properties to it, actually. It's probably more just for the looks of it, and maybe if you prefer to be sitting on wood versus cement. I was okay with cement. That's probably whatever they had available. So it was still incredibly relaxing and really, really just amazing. The mineral baths are also warm. So it's like you're sitting in it feels like a jacuzzi or a spa. And because it's mineral water, it's supposed to be extra, extra mineralizing. And then after that, this was the evening that I took myself on a solo dinner date. I went back to my room, I showered, I cleaned up, I put on a nice dress, I did my makeup, and I took myself on a little date to the Twine restaurant. I ordered the za'atar crusted striped bass with braised leek, pickled maitake mushroom, and green garlic puree. And I paired this dish with a glass of red wine. I initially was planning to not drink on this trip. I really had wanted to let my body rest and to get good sleep. But when I got there, I don't know, just the vibes were so like, I was like, oh, it feels so like chic and like kind of romantic, and I'm taking myself on a date. So yes, I'm going to have a glass of red wine with my za'atar crusted striped bass. And it was delicious. It really was. It was great. And for dessert, I had a lovely raspberry sorbet, which was incredibly refreshing. And to be honest, the fish dish was a little salty for my taste. And so the combination of the fish and the wine was like a little, especially red wine, was like a little heavier. And so closing it out with a raspberry sorbet that was more like light and refreshing was like a really nice balance. So that was my lovely little dinner date that I took myself out on. And then I went back to the room around 9 to 10 p.m. and it was lights out. And now we arrive at day 3. It's Sunday. I have now spent 2 nights at this beautiful solo wellness retreat. It's the last day. You know what we're going to do. We're going to meditate. It's 8 a.m. I get up, I do my morning meditation. And then at 9 a.m., I had reserved a spot in the Vinyasa yoga class. So back to the yoga dome I went, and this class was with more people than who were at the sound bath. I would say maybe there were like 20 people that joined for the yoga session. And as before, they have yoga mats that you can borrow there. So I was able to just come and bring myself, grab a yoga mat, and then we all kind of got into a circle, which was an interesting setup because usually in yoga classes, you're kind of stacked more like front to back. But since it was a dome, we had the yoga teacher who is more or less kind of in the center instructing and kind of like wandering around, but everyone kind of placed their mats in a circle. And I thought that was kind of a cool experience. And the yoga class was like the perfect level of activeness. Vinyasa yoga it tends to be of all the different styles of yoga, a little bit more rigorous, but this class was not super, super hard. It was like accommodating to all skill levels, but it also was not like so easy and boring and slow that you don't feel like you're getting any benefit from it. So I really enjoyed that. After the yoga class, it was around 10 a.m. and I wandered back on over to Twine Cafe and grabbed a cup of complimentary coffee and then got my morning pages done then, or with the coffee. That brings us to around 11 a.m., which is generally when checkout is. However, I was able to call and get late checkout, so I had an extra hour until 12 p.m. to kind of slowly take my time, gather my things, pack up. And even though you have to be out of the rooms by 12, you're still allowed to be on the site, on the resort site, and using all of their facilities until about 2 p.m. And my original plan on this third day was to kind of check out some of the other areas that I maybe didn't get to check out already. I was planning to maybe go take a look at the pickleball courts just to see that area. I don't personally play pickleball. And then also they have this area that's kind of like the pond, and I wanted to go and check that out. And there's also Palm Grove. But because that first night I got so lost trying to find the yoga dome for the sound bath, I actually had already seen all these places. So I found myself on the third day with this extra time that I was like, you know what? I think I've seen pretty much everything I need to see here. I think I'm good. I'm good on all the activities on site. And so I basically then had my last meal, which was lunch there before heading back. And I went back to the Twine restaurant and had like a proper sit down lunch for my last meal there. I got the jicama tacos with braised mushroom, pickled daikon and carrot, avocado mousse, spiced chickpea, and micro cilantro. I love microgreens. Let me tell you, these tacos were delicious. I had asked the waiter there what he recommended, and this was one of the items that he called out. I wasn't originally going to get it. I don't remember what else I was going to get, but I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let me check this out. The jicama was perfectly refreshing because, you're out in the desert. It's pretty hot. Jicama is so like hydrating. And in combination with like the avocado mousse and the chickpeas, that gave it like a heartiness. It was just like a really good balance. And of course, I paired it with a green juice. And that was my last meal over at Two Bunch Palms. And then I proceeded to get my car and did the 2 to 3 hour drive back home. Yeah, that was my version of a quick and easy but effective 3-day, 2-night vacation, a little wellnessy retreat. I hope you found this useful. If you feel so inclined, maybe you want to check out Two Bunch Palms. I know when I asked someone who worked there, like, when is it a popular time of year for people to visit? They say usually the end of the year gets more crowded. So if you're looking for a little bit more of like, access to things and for it to not be too crowded, maybe try to book a stay there that's not at the end of the year. Or if you're someone who wants to meet new people, maybe you should try to get a spot there when it's the end of the year and there are more people there. Even if you are not interested in going to Two Bunch Palms, I'm hoping that maybe you are able to either find another wellnessy type retreat that's local for you, or like book a hotel stay and kind of create your own wellnessy experience. I would encourage you to like opt for the spa experience, get a massage, get a facial. I know a lot of like hotels and places now also offer like yoga classes. Take advantage of that. Eat a good nourishing meal, eat multiple good nourishing meals. Also treat yourself, like I took myself out on a solo dinner date, whether that's with your partner or, with your family, whatever it is. It's just so important for us to take moments to take a break and to take a vacation, and summer months are perfect for that. So once again, if you're listening and you haven't taken one yet, I'm holding you accountable. As great of a mini kind of like vacation getaway as that was, there are some things I wish I had done differently. And so these are things that maybe if you're planning your vacation or you're kind of like a little wellness retreat, you can incorporate. I really wish I was better about being off my phone. This concept of a digital detox, like I know it is so beneficial to be unplugged. I just have a really hard time doing it. And because I also had to attend a brand event while I was like in the middle of the retreat, it also kind of necessitated me to be plugged in. But in the future, with my next retreat, I'm going to really, really, really try to be off the phone, because I have a feeling that even just like 3 days would make a really big difference. And I know it's really hard, especially if you're a self-employed person, to unplug, but I just think that probably would, that one single action might actually reap a lot more benefits. So yes, if you have not yet, I would encourage you to travel during the summer months. Okay, now we're gonna get into the Q&A section. One of the questions that I got was, how do you feel about people in relationships giving you dating advice? This is a really good question. I have two answers for this. The logical, pragmatic, understanding, empathetic Janet is like, I know that anyone giving me advice is coming from a good place. They want to see me happy. They want to see me with a partner. But dating has been such a sensitive topic to me as of late that unless you are single yourself or have tried dating in the current landscape, meaning in the last year, because I honestly think that because of apps, dating culture changes so quickly. Or you are in your midlife, want a family and are still single, or are a woman, I think it's just really hard for me to not be rubbed the wrong way when people try to give dating advice, unless you understand my situation by meeting all of those things. But like I said, the other half of me knows that whenever I'm given advice, it's coming from a good place, and trust me that I hear it all, and it is, I take it in and I keep it in my mind, and it's there, and the words will, come out in the right time. What does that mean? I don't know. Summary being, I appreciate it, but also sometimes advice, even though it comes from with the best intention, can just be really kind of rub salt in the wound a little bit. Oh, you don't get it, What was another question? Have you ever considered opening your studio to group meditations? That is an interesting question. I think I shared a lot on the Asian Boss Girl podcast how during around the pandemic, I got really into meditation, and I've always, not always, but for a very long time, I've been into yoga, and I did get certified to teach meditation, but I never actually did it. And it's one of those skills that if you don't put it to use often, it kind of goes away a bit. And when it comes to yoga, I love doing yoga, but I don't really have a desire to teach it. So there was a period where I did really think about, maybe I want to be a wellness practitioner and either teach meditation or teach yoga. But I don't know, it's been years now, and I haven't wanted it enough to make it a priority. So I considered it, but I don't think it's going to be happening at this moment. But thank you for the suggestion. Maybe sometime in the future, I might host a meditation type event elsewhere. I think out of my home might be a little bit limited. It's kind of a small space here. So yes, thanks for that question. Okay, now we are in the segment of this episode where I want to talk about a giveaway. So if you're listening and you're tuning in, I appreciate you so much. You've made it to the end of this episode. Thank you. If you haven't already, I would love if you would follow or subscribe or leave a rating and review. And for anyone who does, I just want to show my gratitude by hosting this giveaway. This is how you would enter. You rate and review, or you follow and subscribe, and you take a screenshot to show me that you're following, you're subscribing, or that you left me a rating or a review. And then you send that screenshot to livingwellwithjanet@gmail.com. And then I'll be selecting a couple of winners. And I actually have 5 boxes worth of things to give away. I have one that is a Hatch sleep device, which is amazing. It's supporting sleep. And I also have mouth tape in there and this lovely body scrub. So that package is all about supporting good sleep. And then I have another box that's a candle and bath body oil set. And it has a meditation device. So that's all about kind of also unwinding and wellness. And then I have a third box that is all around skincare. There are items in there from Innisfree, which is a really, really good brand. I've been using their products for a while now. It's a Korean-based skincare brand, and they have this vitamin C kit of products. So that's in this package, as well as Paula's Choice BHA liquid exfoliant packets. That is like probably my favorite skincare product of the moment. I've gone through like 2 bottles of that, and I actually do really feel like it makes a big difference in removing like the dead skin cells and making you look refreshed. So there's a box all around skincare. And then I have a box that's all around kind of like self-reflection and introspection. There is a journal in there. There are various pens. And there's actually even a set of headphones to help you get in the vibe, to be solo and doing your thing. And there's a couple of tech equipment things like a phone charger and battery and things like that. And then I have another box that's all around beauty. In there are some Essie gel style nail polish. There's some really fun bold colors and also a luxurious Parisian perfume. So those are some of the items I'm giving away. If you could please leave a rating, leave a review, follow, subscribe, screenshot it, send it to livingwellwithjanet@gmail.com. And if you want to, you can even write a request for which one of these you would like, and I will take that into consideration. And then I'll be giving those away. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you so, so much. And I would love for you to be able to experience one of these little boxes of wellness. Okay, that wraps today's episode. Bye, guys.